Under the new eviction moratorium in New York, landlords can only recover back rent if they agree not to evict tenants for another 12 months. I'm Tony, and this is Real Estate Investing and Landlord News. All right, so I have a kind of bad news for landlords up in the state of New York today. And it's really going over all the stipulations and all the BS that they put into this new eviction moratorium that was recently passed there. Obviously, I am not a fan of eviction moratoriums anywhere, and I want them all to be absolutely destroyed by the Supreme Court. I don't think this one is any more lawful than the previous one because it doesn't really change much, but I feel really, really bad for those landlords up in New York. But before I get into the article, go ahead, hit the like and subscribe button, leave a comment down below, and let me know what you think of this New York State eviction moratorium, okay? I mean, I'm going to tell you the problems that are in it, and it looks like a mess to me. So, this article, it comes from OswegoCountyToday.com, and it says, Barclay, eviction moratorium extension highlights the ugliest parts of Albany. The legislature reconvened in Albany on Wednesday in order to extend the state's moratorium on evictions. The special session, which concluded after many New Yorkers had gone to sleep, was needed to extend the state's misguided eviction moratorium until January 15, 2022. The bill itself is almost as flawed as the process that led up to its passage. Only 7 states in the country are still forcing landlords to operate under an eviction moratorium. 4 additional months, at a minimum, of canceling rent here in New York comes only after Albany dysfunction and Democrats' delays held up $2.3 billion in federal rental assistance funding. The funding from Washington was approved in January, but the Emergency Rental Assistance Program, ERAP, did not begin to get money out the door until this summer. Yeah, and that's part of the problem, okay? So the rental assistance program was delayed by bureaucracy, obviously. Now, this happened all over the country, but in New York is one of the worst cases because, simply put, it took so long for landlords to even start to get the money that a lot of them had just given up hope, okay? And they still haven't gotten a large percentage of that money to the landlords yet. So tenants were applying for the stuff, landlords were working with them, and they still haven't been paid. I mean, that's completely wrong, okay? They want landlords to just take it up the butt, apparently, and, pay all these bills for all these tenants without getting any income in from the state government. I mean, that's completely ridiculous. But that's not even the worst part, okay? The stipulations that they put on taking that money make it so I don't know if I'd even want to take it if I was a landlord. By every metric, the previous administration failed miserably at moving this critical funding through the Office of Temporary Disability Assistance, the state agency tasked with distributing relief funds. New York remains among the slowest states to deliver ERAP assistance to struggling tenants and landlords. Had OTDA simply done its job, the impetus for this week's chaotic and secretive session would never have existed in the first place. Instead, landlords facing enormous financial pressure to pay their mortgages, taxes, and utility bills will continue to shoulder those costs without duly owed rent. Under the extended moratorium, landlords can only recover existing back rent if they agree not to evict tenants for another 12 months. Simply put, participation in the ERAP program triggers an eviction moratorium all on its own. The state's small property owners are damned if they do, damned if they don't. Yeah. I mean, that is crazy, okay? So if you take the rental assistance money, then you cannot evict that tenant for an additional 12 months. So let me go over a possible scenario for you here, okay? You're a landlord. You had a tenant move into your property, before the pandemic, but they stopped paying at the very beginning of the pandemic. So let's say March of 2020, okay? And they haven't paid a single penny all the way through now. Okay, so it is September of 2020 right now. So, March to March will be 12 months. So April, May, June, July, August, September, right? That's an additional 6 months right there. So these tenants are already behind 18 months in rent. So on top of that, if you get rental assistance, the rental assistance only will cover up to a year plus 3 months going into the future. So it will cover 15 months of rent. You're already 18 months behind. So you instantly lose out on 3 months of rent. So the tenant decides that they're not going to pay after they get, they're still not going to pay you after they get the rental assistance. You can't remove that tenant for a full year. So not only do you have to eat the 3 months that, the state wouldn't pay you in money, but you have to eat an additional 12 months of lost rent. So you are out 15 months of rent if you accept the rental assistance. If you don't accept the rental assistance, you get a little bit of your money back, but you still lose. Okay? I'm sorry, I got that backwards. If you do accept the rental assistance, you get a little bit of your money back, you still lose money. If you don't accept the rental assistance, you lose everything, all the way up until you're finally able to get that tenant out of your property. Even when the eviction moratorium ends, it will take months on end to remove tenants in this very tenant-friendly place with this huge backlog of eviction cases. So it might take another year before you're actually able to get that tenant out of there. And then, so just imagine you could be out 2 years rent, and that's with you taking the rental assistance. So, yeah, and just like this article says, you're darned if you do and you're darned if you don't, okay? In addition, this week's special session also highlighted the total dysfunction of government operations in New York. In one of her first official acts, Governor Kathy Hochul signed off on a measure that would suspend New York's open meetings law, a measure that provides a critical outlet for public participation in government. So, yeah, I'm not really too concerned about the open meetings law or none of that. That doesn't have, it might have something to do with real estate, but the main point is that landlords are pretty much getting completely trampled on in the state of New York. And, the new governor, after the former governor resigned, this new governor, was the lieutenant governor, and she came in there and she immediately started talking about we have to, fix the state eviction moratorium, especially after the CDC's moratorium got thrown out by the Supreme Court. Well, the state's eviction moratorium got thrown out by the Supreme Court too, or at least, ripped apart by the Supreme Court. And from the changes that they put in place, it doesn't really look like there's much of a difference. There's no way, from what I could tell, there was no way for the tenants to actually prove that they were under financial hardship, or the tenants still don't have to prove that they are under financial hardship to get the protections. And so this puts landlords in the position of still not having a way to, get rid of, disprove that these tenants actually need protection from this eviction moratorium. So, yeah, what's going on in New York right now, I don't want to see it going on in the rest of the country. And I don't like seeing it going on in New York. And so I'm hoping that the landlords who were talking about suing, I did that video on the landlords talking about suing over any new eviction moratorium put in place. I hope they jump on it, okay? Because this needs to be ripped up. This needs to end. This lasting until January of 2022. And then what happens then, okay? That's the question. Because this will be extended again. I guarantee it. It's the middle of the winter. You really think that they're going to just say, hey, you know what? It's January. Oh, but it's cold out. It's cold out. We don't want to put people out in the cold. So they will extend it all the way up until at least spring, if not summer. These people are nuts. They never give up. They don't think logically. They don't realize that these programs, they don't work for a common landlord. And, they're doing stuff that is completely unlawful and unconstitutional. So I'm very, very displeased. And I hope that landlords out there, they can hang on for as long as possible. And what I really hope is that stuff like this doesn't spread to other states. I'd hate to see a place like, outside of these super progressive states start to put, eviction moratoriums like this into place. I couldn't even imagine if they tried that here in Nebraska. Wow. I would be in trouble. Okay. I would be in trouble. I could see tenants just deciding, hey, I'm just not going to pay until this whole thing is over. And people all over the country would do the exact same thing. So, yeah, hang in there, landlords, and hopefully this comes to an end soon.